Very happy to be here, and again I know that this should have been a lunch, but due to unforeseen circumstances we had to bring it up. So I thank you for coming out so early, and I'm grateful that we could organize this meeting. Let me quickly tell you that this relationship, which has endured now for more than 110 years, is one that Egypt cherishes because of the very close association that previously Egypt had with Yugoslavia, the special relations that existed between President Nasser and Tito and President Tito and Sadat, and generally the affinity that exists between the two people and the recognition of the commonality of much of the modern history of the two countries in developing the non-aligned movement and the special status of Yugoslavia and subsequently Serbia in Eastern Europe and the Balkans. And all of this, I think, warrants that we should engage more actively. We have gone through a period of discomfort and turbulence since 2011, but since 2014, since 2013 actually, with the second revolution and the election of the president, the parliament, and the establishment of the government in 2014, I think if you have been looking at the developments in Egypt since, you will have seen that we have embarked on a very ambitious reform process to alleviate the distortions to our economies that have been associated with long years of lack of achievement, lack of productivity, reliance of the public on the public sector and on the government in the terms of subsidies, and this has all come at a cost in slowing our rate of growth and in also our inability to attract the sufficient investments that can support us. But having said that, I think you will also recognize that there is a great potential in that Egypt during the years between 2011 and 2014, and despite the turbulent nature of the situation, there is still a very vibrant economy. Let us call it a gray economy that was able to keep the country afloat. And on the contrary, I think even during the worst of days, there was still a high level of commercial activity, both internally and externally, that was very promising and productive. Even though those years were difficult politically, the stock market still grew by 30% every year, and return on investment was quite high, exceeding 20%. So there's, I think, a huge resource, especially because of the vast market that exists with more than 100 million people. I think this provides in itself an opportunity for consumer goods and for production. The current reform policies have been difficult for the population in general, but I think they have been absorbed, those reforms, absorbed the inflation and the rising costs out of their confidence in the government and the president, and the recognition that for Egypt to embark upon a new period, it will have to undertake, this generation, a degree of sacrifice so that the future generations can take advantage of these reforms. The reforms have been undertaken with the help of the IMF and the World Bank, and both institutions are quite satisfied with the rate of implementation of the program. And I think the last meetings between the President and Mrs. Lagarde, again in Germany only a month ago, she reiterated her total satisfaction with the determination of the government, and both the World Bank and the IMF are now considering Egypt a model in terms of their commitment and resolve to undertake the economic reforms in the manner that we are so doing. Among those, of course, was the floating of the currency, where the government is no longer, the central bank is no longer manipulating the foreign exchange rate. And this has resulted in the total elimination of the black market in foreign currency, and has also provided a resource to the central bank in that the rise in its reserves. Its reserves in 2012
had reached the level of almost $14 billion. Today they are well exceed $45 billion and are growing. I think this is again one of the signs of the achievements that have been through the implementation. But we haven't been idle also, and it hasn't just been a matter of austerity. There have been, over these last 4 years, enormous mega projects. We have almost doubled our road surfaces, creating new corridors from the north to the south and tributaries in all directions. We are in the process of improving our rail systems. We are building 12 megacities across the country at the same time. And this has generated both commercial activity. It has helped to keep the unemployment rate down, especially because of those Egyptians who have returned from Libya or from the Gulf region because of the turbulence that has been associated with the Arab Spring and other factors. And so we have been able to bring down our unemployment rate to about 10% or a little less. At the same time, the ability to have absorbed this large workforce has provided an impetus into the commercial well-being of the internal market. A new investment law that has alleviated many of the red tape and the bureaucracy related to the establishment and initiation of companies. A new procurement law to guarantee the highest degree of transparency, and generally I think that the conditions now and the return on investment and the potential of the new industrial zone associated with the Suez Canal, the new ports that are being built both on the northern tip of the Suez Canal and on the southern tip of the Red Sea, all again indicate the strategic location of Egypt, but also its associations to the Arab world and the free trade agreements with the Arab world, with the three economic zones in Africa, which provide tariff-free access to the Arab and African market, provide the opportunity for investors that establish production lines in the economic zones on the Suez Canal. This is a state-of-the-art industrial zone where we have provided the highest degree of infrastructure. So it's, I think, a work in progress. And I think that the current level of trade between the two countries is very limited and does not at all compare to the relationship and the confidence that both peoples have towards each other, or the receptivity of both governments to work closely together. And I hope that through you that we will certainly bring this to a new stage. I don't want to tempt you, but some of your neighbors have already passed the $1 billion mark in terms of trade between the two countries. And I think that Serbia has a huge potential, whether in the quality of its industrial base or its commercial enterprise, so that we can alleviate. Of course, the establishment of the Egyptian-Serbian Business Council is a welcome development, and I hope that once the Egyptian side is designated, they will become the core initiators of information and attraction to their subsequent base, so that they can help to promote the relationship. I will stop here and maybe give an opportunity for any specific questions that you may have, but once again I thank you for your participation, and look forward to hopefully seeing many of you in Cairo when you come to explore business opportunities, or when you come to visit to take advantage of the slightly more moderate climate.
Thank you very much. I would like to encourage you to ask. We have a unique opportunity to have the minister here and to see what will be the points of your interest and potential cooperation with Egypt. Please, Mr. Darko Budic.
Sir, I would like to ask you, what's about custom fees?
Sorry?
Custom fees.
Custom fees.
Yes, we are very interested to be present on your market in infrastructure lighting, ports, airports. But the custom fee is still too high as far as I know.
Not necessarily. I think it depends. First of all, on terms of production and whatever is imported, whether it's in assembly or for purposes of industrial enterprise, there is usually very low tariffs on the components in that regard. Maybe the custom fees might be a little higher when it comes to finished products, but it depends on the product. It depends on, and it is a matter of whether it is a luxury or it is a more fundamental product. And generally, the rates are coming down, and I'm sure that there can be an opportunity for exploring this further. We will get to you maybe a list of the various products and the customs that are available through the embassy will be available so that you can have a better idea.
Very good, because today, as far as we checked, if the product is from European community, 0 tax, and if the product is from Serbia, 60%.
Well, certainly, because we have an agreement with the European Union which came into effect about 20 years ago, the association agreement, and this does provide now and has been de-escalating tariffs between Egypt and the European Union, creating a free trade zone. This is a matter of negotiations at the governmental level, and I'm sure that if there is sufficient interest and volume in trade between Egypt and Serbia, we can find the necessary legal instruments that will help to attract more Serbian investments and production.
Very good, thank you very much.
I maybe forgot to mention, of course, also the issue of energy. And in 2011, we had an energy deficit in electricity. And again, the investment that has been put into the 3 mega power stations from Siemens, and also the diversification into solar and wind, and of course the find of the natural gas field in the Eastern Mediterranean has all now provided us with the surplus energy, which is available, of course, for industry and for exportation. This is another area, I think, which is very lucrative, the energy sector, and I hope that there will be those that would be interested in this regard.
We have another question.
I have for you one kind recommendation. In our country, Ministry of Energetics gave us 2 or 3 years ago some kind of instruction to all local municipalities that they have to think about changing the lights from normal to LED because of the energy saving, the keeping of the safety of the environment, etc., etc. This is my idea. If you can instruct some of your ministry, maybe energetics, to give this kind of instruction.
We already have, and all Egyptian ministries now are utilizing LED, in addition to a very broad campaign to shift to LED has picked up because of the savings. People are very eager to change over to LED because of the savings, and because that we are lifting the subsidies on electricity. So it's becoming now an incentive for households to change to LED. But the government is totally lit by LED now. There is now a project to change all of the street lighting to LED, and all new enterprise are heavily dependent now on LED lights.
To whom we have to address, for example, if we have some ideas about some ESCO project, etc. Because so far it was, let me be very honest, it was really difficult to approach to anyone, to the government, or to whom we have to address to discuss about this energy saving ESCO project, etc., etc. Can you give us some links, some shortcuts, some ideas?
Well, if it's a matter of exploration, I'm sure that the embassy will be very happy to link you up. If it's a matter of being on the ground in Egypt. We will coordinate for those the necessary connections within the Ministry of Electricity, the Ministry of Investment, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and those, I'm sure you will find a very receptive ear and a willingness to cooperate.
Okay, so we have your, let's say, strong support to address to the...
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. We will do this. Thank you.
Please.
Zamolit ću i prevodnicu. Poštovani gospodine ministre, vaša ekscelencijo, poštovani članovi delegacije, poštovane kolege. Iz informacije ministra, eto, sa zadovoljstvom se većina nas prisetila dobrih bilateralnih odnosa između Srbije kao sukcesora SFRJ i potonjih država.
Your Excellency and all the respected members of the delegation, Your Highness Minister, I'm thankful that we had an opportunity to remember the good relations that were between the two countries.
Te dobre bilateralne političke odnose povremeno su pratili i dobri ekonomski bilateralni odnosi. Mi se sa ponosom sećamo velikih količina poljoprivredne mehanizacije, velikih količina zastave 128 koja je išla na prijateljsko egipatsko tržište.
This good cooperation, bilateral cooperation between the two countries was also followed by economic relations. For example, one of the most important products that was exported to Egypt was a car Zastava 128.
Yes, of course.
Dobro je što imamo dobru istoriju. Ona je osnova da možemo da napravimo i dobru budućnost. A verujem da delim mišljenje kolega privrednika da mi u ovom momentu imamo ne samo mogućnost, nego i obavezu da širenjem svojih poslova pokušamo da dostignemo nivo dobrih bilateralnih političkih odnosa između naših zemalja.
Good history is the base for good cooperation in the future. So we, as investors, have not only possibility but also obligation to spread good relations also in the economic field.
U ime Vestom grupe koja sarađuje sa proizvođačima nameštaja sa juga Srbije,
in the name of Vestom Group, that is also cooperating with the furniture production companies from the south of Serbia.
mi konkretno želimo da ponudimo i obratit ćemo se ekonomskom odelenju ambasade kvalitetnu bukovu građu koja je nekad bila značajna stavka u našim odnosima.
We would like to propose a cooperation between two countries in this field of furniture production and products made out of wood.
Pored bukove građe, Srbija može da ponudi šper ploče, medijapan, lesonit, finalni nameštaj.
Serbia can propose also the products made out of materials such as sonit and mediapan.
Finalni nameštaj sve kategorije, da ne zamaramo.
The final products of all categories, of all kinds of furniture.
I pored toga možemo da ponudimo vrlo kvalitetno opremanje svih vrsta objekata.
We can also propose very high quality furniture for all kinds of objects.
Naša referenc lista je izuzetno bogata, počev od Finske, Švedske, preko Rusije, Grčke, Bugarske i zemalja Bliskog istoka.
Our reference list is rich, so we can say that we cooperated with the countries that you first, such as Finland, Sweden, and countries in the Middle East.
Radimo po standardima svih poznatih hotelskih operatera. Pozdravljam organizaciju ovakvog skupa.
I'm very thankful for the organization of such gathering.
I zamolio bih predstavnike i jedne i druge države da najavljeni sporazum, odnosno ugovor o slobodnoj trgovini što pre ugleda svetlost dana i time nam omogući da realizujemo međusobne ideje.
And I would kindly ask the representatives of both sides that this agreement of free trade to be signed as soon as possible as a condition for better cooperation.
Thank you.
Well, we look forward to developing the relationship, but I think before we proceed to a free trade agreement, we have to have the sufficient volume of trade. So it is up to both sides to explore avenues and areas of cooperation. And I'm sure that the area of wood and timber is an important one. There's already cooperation between the manufacturers of furniture in the Dumyat. And Dumyat has been also now provided by the government. Many of the private sector entities have been provided communal production facilities, high-tech equipment that has been imported for the manufacturing of furniture. But you have to also take into regard that we are building 12 cities across Egypt, and there is a need for timber and hard floors, wooden floors, and there's a very high demand for such a large growing population. So we look forward in this area. We have explored in Africa, in Gabon. I think still Europe will have a comparative edge because of the proximity and the availability of the sea lines. So it's up to you to take advantage of this very large market, and we'll be happy to continue to cooperate in this field.
I'm coming from a truck company from Serbia, and I want to tell you that we exported the chassis 4x4 for Kader factory, and we are expecting now the contract for 75 units.
Great.
And also we offer them 6x6 and 8x8 chassis. 8x8 will be on a fair from 3rd to 7th of December on a military exhibition in Cairo. So we are only the company which offer them also SKD solution for the production of the chassis and CKD. Normally with all what we should done before that. His Excellency Ambassador Amar visited us in Priboj, and we discussed about that together. So we are really expecting that we can make good cooperation exactly between two factories, FAP and Kader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is another area where there's already an existing cooperation, but we would like to expand it. And I'm glad that you'll be participating in the military exhibition that's going to be hosted, I think beginning of first week of next month. So this is another, I think, opportunity for your company to explore and to have its context not only with the military industrial Ministry of State, but also with some of the large manufacturing companies in terms of heavy buses and other equipment.
And FAP is now the part of the Ministry of Defense, belongs to the 13 companies which are under that.
More encouraging.
We have time for only one more question, please. If we don't have,
Well, again, if we don't have, I appreciate very much that you've come out. I'm sorry that we're limited on time today, but we have to move because the President is giving me the honor of receiving me. I look forward to that as I had a very productive meeting yesterday with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think there's a momentum that is building since the two presidents met in New York in 2017. And the communications I've had with the Minister of Foreign Affairs indicates that we have all the necessary political tools for further engagement and for more interaction. And I think it's up to us and up to you, basically. Egypt now's economy is heavily dependent on the private sector. 75% of the economy is now in the hands of the private sector, not in the public sector. There's still the remaining 25%, which is being, let us say, revitalized for the process of also privatizing it and relying totally on the innovativeness of the private sector and the determination to participate more actively. So I welcome you, and I please refer you to the embassy for any further questions. And the embassy will be very happy to put you in touch with the various companies that are working in your fields, whether and the syndicates in Egypt that are also interested to create a relationship. And it is, I think, up to both sides to find the necessary areas of cooperation, and they are many and diversified, and I hope that they will bring benefit to both sides and commercial prosperity. Thank you again very much, and I welcome you all in Egypt. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to say about Serbian people, it's not